I'm Rosecrans Vic, and I just hopped off the porch with Dirty Glove Bastard.
I can see you scared of love, what do I know? You say you wanna get sexual with my eyes on. Baby, we can make a movie that's gon' fire.
All right, so we got my boy, Rosecrans Vic, jumping off the porch with us today.
What up, bro? What up?
Man, I'm feeling great. How about yourself, man?
I'm feeling great. I love Atlanta, man. I just got a combo meal with glazed holes for like $7 at Crystal's. I was like, that's so cheap. And I got a coffee with it. I was like, yo, I'll never get some shit like this back home.
Probably run you close to like a dub, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was so happy. This put me in a great mood. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah. So what else have you been working on since you've been in the city? What else you got planned for the rest of the weekend, too?
Man, all right, so I'm here with my artist, 22G Faye. Signed him to OTR a couple years ago. He's been going up, so I just want to bring him around here, you know what I'm saying? Like, introduce him to Atlanta. I feel like his sound, like, people in Atlanta and the South would really appreciate it, you know? So I was like, man, I got to make my rounds, come up to DGB. Just networking shit. Definitely had to stop by off the porch, you know what I'm saying? So you already know.
Yeah, you know, when you hit me about G Faye, I was like, oh shit, you want to do an interview while you're here? Like,
yeah, exactly. Makes sense. I don't do many interviews like you said. Like, it's not really my thing to be on this side of the camera. You know what I'm saying? Like, to just, you know, but.
Yeah, but cool. I'm hoping you can come here, bring some inspiration to people.
Most definitely.
Because I always feel like, you know, everyone's story is very unique.
Yeah.
And also, you know, with us, I'm behind the camera. You're in front of the camera.
Yeah.
But, you know, doing the other side of the music business, like, you could definitely kind of share some gems for some people during this interview, too. But,
nah, for sure.
Yeah. So, you know, let's take it back, man. So, you from LA, right?
Yeah.
Born and raised?
Born and raised. Born in Inglewood, California. Raised in Lenox, California, right by the airport. Then I moved to another city, like more suburban, called Bellflower, 562 area, closer to like Long Beach and Compton. And then kind of bounced around, but just like always stayed along Rosecrans Avenue. It'll take you from the beach to the worst parts of LA to the nicest parts of LA. Like, all just drive down that street 27 miles, you'll see all of LA has to offer.
I got you, man. Yeah. So, like, what would you say you was into as a kid? Were you always into, like, music? Was you always trying to get your foot in the industry? Or,
you know, it's funny.
Were you hooping?
Yeah, so I love, like, sports was, like, my first love, baseball in particular.
Okay.
And I really wanted to be, like, a sports center anchor. Like, my first dream when I, like, I was like, all right, I'm obviously not going to be a pro baller, like, pro baseballer. I'm like, I want to be, like, a sports center anchor. But I was always into music. Like, ever since I stole my cousin's Marshall Mathers LP CD, and I started playing it on my Walkman, nobody else could tell me shit. I was like 7 years old. I'm like listening to shit I should not be listening to at that age. And I love music, fell in love with it. My parents are super young, so they always had me around, you know, playing Dr. Dre, Snoop, Nate Dogg, you know what I'm saying? So it was natural to me. That's literally what I grew up on. And then I got a little older. I had my best friend was a DJ. He was a DJ for like a local artist that had some success in LA. And I would always be like his plus one. Okay. You know, like that was my dog. And like he was DJing in high school and shit. And I was literally just his plus one. I just like music. I had no aspirations of being in it at all. And then time goes by. Like I was around like a lot of random shit. Like I remember meeting like Tyga, Kid Cudi, all these people super early just as like a plus one, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, time goes by, he stops really DJing, and then I was like, man, I want to do like a radio show or something. I want to get involved and see what I can do. Take like what I want to do with like the sports center shit. I'm like, sports, getting into that, if you're not an ex-athlete, is like really hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I kind of made that realization. I was like, all right, let me get into music. There's like less barriers of entry, you know what I'm saying? You don't really need anything to start. You just got to be passionate and give a fuck. So I was like, all right, let me do that. And so I started a college radio show at Long Beach City College, and I sucked, you know what I'm saying? I was terrible, so terrible at it, but I was like, let me get better at this, you know? So when doing that, I was like, man, I want to express myself, but I don't know how. Let me write some stuff down. So I started writing a bunch of stuff down in preparation for the show. And then I was like, I crumple it up and throw it away after. And I'm like, where is this going? Like, why don't I just put this up online or something, right? And I was like a big follower of the blog era. Okay. You know, Two Dope Boys, now write, like just all that shit. Like I was an avid reader all the time. And at the time I was really inspired by this blog. It was a fashion blog called 4 Pins. I don't know if you remember that. It was like on the Complex Network.
Okay.
And the way they wrote about fashion and like pieces, but they did it in a very like satirical way. Like, this jacket reminds me of the time my grandma stole from me. Like, and you're just like reading it and it's like, it has nothing to do with the piece, but it's entertaining, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of took that approach to music at first, where like, this song reminds me of the time this girl wouldn't text me back, whatever, like just insert random story about my life. And so I started doing that with the blog, rosecransvic.com, and nobody really cared for like 3 years. Like, it was just me teaching myself how to write, doing my thing, trying to get like some exposure, but I'm working like a corporate job. Nobody really gave a fuck about anything I did until I had a radio show at Dash Radio, online radio station in LA. I had Rosecrans Radio, it was me and Cypress Moreno. And then I connected with the homie Jeff Weiss and I interviewed him. It went great. And then after, he's like, hey, you want to do like a live show, like a collab show? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we ended up doing a collab show in August of 2017, where we booked O3 Greedo, Frosty the Snowman, Desto Dub, Ralphie the Plug, this dude named Natia, like, and Cypress was DJing. And so it was a Monday night in August, and we packed the whole shit out. And the next day, Greedo ends up on the fader for his song with P&B Rock, Beat That Thing Down. And then like LA underground scene was just like off to the races. Like, people started to really give a fuck. Next month, Shoreline starts bubbling. I hear about them, I interview them, I have them on my radio show, and then I book them for a show to benefit Hurricane Harvey. It was like a tiny, tiny show, like 100 people capacity at Los Globos, the tiny room. And then people started giving a fuck, like, man, this guy's booking the right artists at the right time, interviewing them. And then it was just like, you know, a snowball effect. Then Draco comes home a month later, and then he starts collabing with everybody. And I'm in the midst of everything. I'm the only like LA blogger really in the mix of this shit, right? Like, covering it, pulling up to sessions, being a part of the culture. And it was natural. It was like I was already in there. You know what I'm saying? It's like building relationships with everybody, booking their first interview, shows, everything I could do to help. And then it's just like the spotlight just kind of turned on LA, and people started to really care about my opinion, things I did, who I booked, who I didn't. And then me and Jeff, we clicked back up and we started a concert series called Don't Come to LA.
Okay, yeah.
And when we started that, another like shift happened where it was just like, man, we created like some real dope LA rap shit. Like, it was like one of the only places that you can go and do some LA rap shit. Network, watch some shit. Like, the thing about LA culture, especially at that time, it was like 2016, 2017, it's like clubs, Hollywood, popping bottles. This was nothing like that. It was a dingy bar in downtown LA, Arts District, and we would have, you know, artists pull up if they weren't even performing. We had Dom Kennedy pull up, we had J305 pull up, we had Skrillex pull up to one of our shows in the crowd, just chilling. Like, I was like, I met him, he introduced himself as Sonny, and I'm like, you're not Sonny, bro, you're Skrillex, like, what are you talking about? Like, so it's like, shit like that, it really like shifted and moved culture, you know, in LA, and we booked all the right artists at the right time, right? Like, we had booked G Preco super early. We booked, I think he ended up bringing out OMB Peasy during his set. Like, everything just kind of fell in line, right? Like, we had Freddie Gibbs as a special guest one day, just popped out, performed unannounced, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just really like a real hub for shit. And we booked Blueface for $900. $900. I sent him the Zelle or the PayPal or something like that. Booked Kaylin for real, for free. I have a funny story about Kaylin. To the first Don't Come to LA, I tell him this all the time. He actually snuck into the show.
Really?
He walked right past me when I was like charging people at the door. He walked right past me and I was like, all right, that's Kalen. But he wasn't like Kalen. Like, I just knew he was an artist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I gonna, you know, make a whole scene for like $10? You know what I'm saying? But I ended up telling him that story, and he's like, yo, my bad, bro. I got them $10 if you need them. He's like, that was wrong with me. I'm like, yeah. It's all good, brother. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we just had a lot of dope moments like that, you know what I'm saying? We had Shoreline pop out at one, a special guest, you know what I'm saying? It was like a hub, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We did that. And yeah, like, that was just, people really were like in tune what I was doing after that.
Yeah, because I feel like at that time there wasn't too many outlets in LA that were covering like the upcoming scene like that.
Exactly. And it was like, I noticed that there was such a large gap between the artists that get played on radio and the artists that like are played in people's cars. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it was like, there was like Kid Ink, Tyga at the time, obviously YG, and they were all on the radio, and that was cool, but there was like this whole underbelly of RJ, AD, Draco, you know, Stink Team, O3 Gritto came later. It was like, who's covering that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, it'll be me then.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Because I always looked at you guys like, it was almost like the DGB of the West Coast.
Yeah.
To where you guys were on these artists first, and I remember discovering like Gritto off of your shit too, man. It's like, damn, it was hard as shit.
Yeah, it was a lot of like right place, right time, you know, for me, and then also, you know, moving in a way like intentionally without like being clout chasey and ruining relationships. It's like, that's what I always held my hat high on. It's like, I'm not about to exploit any of these artists, you know what I'm saying? Because there was a lot of real shit. Like, there was a period of time where I interviewed artists, 2 months later they get locked up. It was like, I was like, man, is the LAPD watching my interviews? Like, even though I wouldn't ask them no invasive shit, that's been my thing since the very beginning. Like, I don't want you to record none of your crimes on my cameras. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of that shit. I don't want to be liable, because I attended a couple of Draco court hearings. Like, I was in the courtroom, and I was sitting in the back just watching, observing, and they were bringing up YouTube clips of his interviews, and I was like, yo, this shit is real. Like, mind you, this is like 2018, so it's like before the Thug and you know, all the RICO shit that they're like doing now. I was like mind blown, because I'm like, they're really using, you know, Facebook posts, Twitter posts, YouTube clips of interviews, and saying, this is why he did this is when he did that, this is, and creating a whole timeline. And I was like sick to my stomach. I'm like, yo, I don't want to contribute to none of this shit. I contemplated quitting, because I'm
really?
like, yeah, because I'm just like, bro, like, I'm interviewing these artists I'm a big fan of, and then I essentially help give them a platform for the LAPD to come in and be like, yeah, you're going away for time. I know I didn't directly like, you know, attribute anything, like, you know, contribute to that, but it's also like, am I a part of like their YouTube algorithm where it's like, all right, who do we pick on next? And I felt that way for a little while, you know. It might have just been like my paranoia or whatever, but it wasn't a good feeling, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm growing relationships with these artists, and then all of a sudden they got to go away, sit down, be away from their family for months and years, you know what I'm saying?
No, I salute you for even doing shit like that, because even with us, I've taken some of our interviews, and I asked artists, like, we're taking this part out.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you should not have said that.
Yeah.
There's even been one time where we sent the interview to his attorney to watch it first.
Yeah.
And he just replies back with like face palms. He's like, bro, that's an open case. I was like, well, I didn't know that. He obviously knew that, but he's sitting here talking about it openly. So it's like, man, we scrapped the whole interview. Like, it's not worth it at the end of the day.
And that's the difference between, you know, your guys' platform and why you guys are winning in that aspect, and have the respect of artists and other ones that are just like exploitative. You know what I'm saying? So salute.
Yeah, I think that's probably my biggest like pet peeve with the online journalism, whatever you want to call it, with YouTubers today. It's like, they go for the most clickbait shit they can.
Yeah.
It's like they go for the most controversial shit. They don't even ask you about your music anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
They just want to know about when you got arrested, when you got shot, and it's just like, come on, like, can we get back to the art of this shit?
Real shit, yep.
Yeah. So then you started your own interview series, right? Or did that come afterwards?
So with Rosecrans Radio, I was doing like the online radio show for a while. And that was with Cypress, and then Cypress ended up going on tour with Shoreline. My video guy ended up going on tour with Shoreline, so it was like, Shoreline was like, I always say, Shoreline was the best and worst thing that happened to my radio show, because it like made it poppin', but it took away my staff, right, at the time. Which, you know, looking back, like it was fine. Nobody's probably listening to that shit anyway. But but like at the same time, yeah. So I did that, and then I ended up spinning it into a podcast, because this is around the time where it's like SoundCloud started taking episodes down if it had like original music. They started like really cracking down. So I'm like, okay, let me take out all the music from this and just turn it into a podcast. And that's when I, you know, started interviewing artists. You know, during the episodes and stuff like that. Then I stopped Rosecrans Radio in, I think at the end of 2019, I want to say. And then I was just like, you know what, let me just take a step back. I want to do something different. I didn't feel like it was going in the right direction. I was like elevating. So I just kind of like, you know, freelanced a little bit, did a couple other things, and then Adam called for No Jumper. That's when he hit me up, and he was just like, hey, I want to do something. I think this was like early 2020, before the pandemic started. And he was like, hey, I want to start bringing in more like creators into this. I don't want No Jumper to just be me anymore. Like, you know, I want to have people like you on camera, have your own show and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. Then the pandemic happens. So, you know, I don't hear from him about it for a couple months. And then like in August, he hits me up again, like, hey, you still want to do that show? And then I was just like, yeah. He's like, all right, well, you know, just let me know what you're thinking, get back to me. So I hit up the homegirl Gina Views, I hit up the homie Gabe C. We do a photo shoot, come up with the logo, everything in like 3 days. I turned it into him. I'm like, this is my show, this is the cast, this is our photo shoot, like when do we start? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the pay I need, all that shit, whatever. And so so we start Mad Lately at No Jumper on October like 7th, I think, of 2020. And then, you know, we go on for like 39 episodes. Didn't have great success, but we did a lot of dope shit. Like, we interviewed Draco on there. We brought like the Blueface, the Blue Girls Club, you know, cast at the time, like little shit. Like we did a lot of dope shit with that. It just, I feel like we didn't fit our audience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Didn't really fit the No Jumper audience.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like we didn't try to get into no messy shit. Like, we weren't trying to incriminate nobody. It wasn't like super raunchy, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, and I guess that's what the fans wanted, you know what I'm saying? That's how they built their platform, you know what I'm saying? So we were going against the grain. We're trying to be on some complex roundtable shit, you know. Looking back, I'm just like, yeah, it didn't work. You know, so we did that until like June 2021. Yeah, we got canceled like right around my birthday. I remember that. And then before that though, I started Brown Bag Podcast.
Okay.
A couple weeks before, I was just like, I should do some different shit. I didn't think I was gonna get canceled, but I was just like, you know, this is a whole different vibe. You know, we're gonna talk about our families, we're gonna talk about this, we're gonna talk about that. And we start Brown Bag.
Yeah. How did that all start? Was that just a conversation amongst you three? Like, let's just do a podcast? Or
no,
was it a real idea and you had to pitch it to them? Or
no, it's a funny story. It's so I met Duno in like 2019, at the end of 2019. Super young kid. And I was at an event, at a Red Bull event, and he walked up to me and he was just like, hey bro, like, big fan of your work, all this stuff. And I was just like, what? Like, I'm like, oh, I seen you on Twitter before. Like, I had just seen his video circulating on Twitter. And I was just like, yeah, like, I'm a fan of you too, bro. Like, you know, keep doing your thing. We connected. But the crazy part is, earlier in the day, there was like a Red Bull dinner for like, you know, Latino influencers or something, right? And I got invited. And at that dinner, I met Letty. And she was like, hey, I'm a big fan of what you're doing for the city, da-da-da. And I was like, what? Like, because this is somebody like I listened to on the radio before and had a lot of respect for, listened to her on podcasts and all this stuff. So I was like, damn, that's crazy. Same day, same exact day, 2019, like November-ish. And so time goes by, pandemic happens, all that. I'm still getting like, you know, real close with Duno. He's in like the inner circle because my business partner at the time was was managing him. So, you know, that was like, he was in-house, you know, essentially. He was gang. And then I think 2021, early 2021, Letty hits me up and it's just like, hey, I want to do an interview with you. I'm doing an interview series where I'm interviewing 100 people and I want you to be one of them. And I'm like, cool. I pull up to the studio. We do an interview, it goes pretty good. And then maybe like a week or two passes by and then she's like, hey, sorry, I lost the footage.
And what happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, for real? She's like, yeah, like, I'm so sorry. Would you be down to come back and shoot another interview? And I was like, yeah, sure, that's cool, you know. I'll go. So I go back there. The second one goes even better. It was just like, chemistry was there, like, really entertaining. I had a lot of fun doing it. And then at the end, I literally throw out a joke, like, man, we should just start a podcast at this point. And then, you know, she's like, yeah, let's start a podcast, like. And then, so maybe like 2 weeks goes by, and then she calls me and she's like, hey, like, were you serious about what you said about the podcast thing? And I was just like, yeah, I wasn't, but like, but I'm like,
I'm gonna entertain this.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, of course, like, we should totally do it, you know? Because mind you, like, Letty's like up here. I'm still like trying to get here. I've never been on radio. I've, you know, just still building my career. And so I was like, yeah, for sure. And then so she's like, okay, well, yeah, let's do some pilots and stuff. Like, let's try to work on it. So, and then we start recording a couple pilot episodes. We even put one out. There's one on YouTube. Like, you could go watch it right now. Just Letty and Vic unnamed podcast. And we're trying to get it named. We're sitting there like, you know, somebody help us name our podcast. And then Duno calls and he's like, how could you do this without me? Fuck y'all. He's so mad and jealous. Like, he was just like, what? Like, how are you just gonna do this podcast without me? And we're like, so me and Letty have a conversation, like, you wanna let him in to do the podcast, like, with us? And then we're like, well, maybe as a special guest sometimes, I don't know, because at the time he's traveling, like, he had went viral after that domestic violence video.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Domestic violence, the homie were abusive. So he had like a huge fan base, you know, in the midst of me knowing him. Like, I meet him 2019, he's like popular internet personality in LA. Then he goes like kind of nationwide viral with that. So he's getting booked for clubs. You know, the shit that happens when you first go viral is like, you just start seeing them everywhere. Like, what are you doing in Denver, bro? Like, you know, you're fucking at a club hosting, you know what I'm saying? Like, so he's doing all that stuff and I'm like, we're like, well, this requires us to be in LA once a week and committed, you know what I'm saying? So I knew I wasn't going anywhere, she wasn't going anywhere. So we're like, if you commit to this, we can't have you just going in and out, you know what I'm saying? You need to like be here when we record. And then so he was like, no, I got you, like, trust me, I'm on this. And then mind you, he's also like 20 years old or 19 at this time. So we're just like, are you really gonna take it seriously? You know what I'm saying? But to his credit, like, he's usually the first one that shows up. Like, he's on time, punctual, everything. Like, he doesn't miss episodes. He schedules his whole like things around the brown bag, you know, for the most part. So yeah, so we ended up shooting a couple pilots with me, Duno, and Letty, and they go pretty well. And then we finally put out an episode in June of 2021, and it goes pretty well. And then 2-3 episodes go by, and then we were like, damn, like, it's like, this is outperforming my other podcast by a long shot. And then also just the interaction was crazy. Like, people really gave a fuck. People were really relating to what we were saying. And like, we kind of just realized after a couple months, we created a community. You know what I'm saying? You could tell the comments, people were just all tuned in and stuff. And we were like, wow, we're onto something here.
Yeah. How much is the podcast scripted and how much of it is it just improv, basically?
It's all improv. Like, we have, you know, like a prep sheet that, you know, we throw stories in as what we want to talk about, you know. But a lot of times it's even like, there'll be like some backdoorness of like, hey, let's not tell Vic, but we're gonna ask him about this. Like, so really? It'll catch me on camera. I mean, we do, you know, the same thing like to Duno or to Letty, like catch people off guard and ask a question that you didn't think that they would ask, and it's like, the cameras are rolling now. What are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So no, it's just we have really good chemistry, and we trust each other, and you know, we trust our editor. Thank God for our editor.
Real shit. Because you got here looking really good or really bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So how does the situation with Power 106 come about?
So with Power 106, they had, I think it was like a couple months after we started the podcast, they hit up Letty, and she had worked at Power previously, so they're like, hey, like, you know what, we're looking for a new morning show host. Would you be interested? And so, you know, she got hired, and she had asked us like if we were interested, but it was more of a, do you guys want to try out to see like if it'll work, or if you want to be at Power, very much like a prove yourself kind of thing. And I think I was out of town at the time, so only Duno ended up going to audition. But I was still kind of like bullish at the time about it, because I wasn't sure like about radio, and I knew I didn't want to like go into radio with no leverage. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I've seen people like that are like amazing, and then they go to radio or somewhere and they just get like buried. You know what I'm saying? It's like they put you on the like night shift, and you know, you're there for years. And so I'm like, I'd rather just go with leverage. That's kind of always been my whole thing. It's like, I'll just wait. I'll just work harder and come back, you know, and like have some leverage and shit. Like, I don't really like to like beg for opportunities or anything like that. Or so I was like, I'm not sure. And then, you know, Letty ended up taking the job. She ended up doing her thing. She was she had her own morning show for a while. And then I guess it just didn't work out, you know, with the ratings and stuff. But they're like, but you, Letty, like, we love you, you know, what are you thinking? And, you know, so they were like, hey, what's up with this brown bag podcast that you're doing? And at the time we had just finished, we had just come off of selling out the Novo for a brown bag live show. And that was like, I don't know, like 1,400 tickets, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a big deal.
Absolutely, yeah.
In LA, so they took notice. They're like, what do you think about this brown bag, bringing them to the morning show? And so when she asked us, it was like more of a partnership instead of like, hey, do you guys want to try out? It's like, do you guys want to do it and partner with them or not? And I'm like, oh, okay, now we're talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I could decide my salary. Now I could, you know, it's like, just go in there without like, you know, trying to like scrape and claw for what you want. You know what I'm saying? So the conversation sounded a lot better. They were really enthusiastic about us too, you know. So we went to do one trial episode, and it was like on a Saturday morning, and people like really reacted really good to it. And they're like, do you want to do another Saturday episode? And we're like, no, like just hire us or don't. Like, it's like, you saw what we could do. Now offer us a job. Like, I'm not gonna keep going every Saturday. Like, come on, like this feels good. Like, let's make it happen, you know?
Yeah.
So we ended up doing it, and I think we started February 16th. Yeah, it was February 16th of this year, and you know, it's been a lot of fun. Like, it's been new. It's waking up early is difficult still.
Because what time do you guys go on the air? It's super early.
We go
right?
on at 6 a.m. So, you know, you gotta prep, you gotta do everything. So get to the station, you know, before 5:30 or so. I live pretty close by, so I'm lucky, but it's tough. But I mean, thankfully, like, we've been, last 3 months, we've been like top 3 in the ratings in morning shows for 18 and 34 of like all of LA. So like beating out like Big Boy, beating out Ryan Seacrest, beating out the legendary Spanish stations like the Que Buena and stuff. It was like, whoa. Like, we're still super new, and we're putting up numbers, you know, so it's a blessing.
Now, did they try and change the show in any way, or did you guys still have like creative control and freedom to do what y'all want to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny part. Like, we came in with so much leverage, and then also they wanted us to be us, you know, so they were like, we're throwing away our old formats where it used to be like talk a little bit, play, you know, 5 songs, talk a little bit, play 5 songs. Like, with us, we literally are talk, play 2 songs, talk. So if you listen to our morning show, you're not gonna hear much music. It's really gonna be us. Yeah. and they've given us a lot of creative control in terms of like our guests, you know what I'm saying, like, and we're just like blessed, like we're able to bring in like.
Did you have Smokey Robinson on?
Yeah, Smokey Robinson.
That's insane.
That's like a top interview moment ever, damn near. But we've also been able to bring in like people that we really fuck with, you know. O3 Greedo, we had his first interview out of jail.
Okay.
You know, we brought in Hit Boy early on. OGZ, you know, it's just a lot of people that we fuck with that we've gotten, like, we have our own relationships with. It's like now that we're here, it makes sense like to bring them on board, you know what I'm saying? So we even did this thing last month where we were giving fools their flowers. So we were bringing on just like random people from the culture. Like we brought in Hector from Fast and the Furious.
Okay.
Because we're like, what's up with this dude? Like, you know, he don't really do many interviews, and we just thought it would be funny, and he was entertaining. We brought in the guys from Fools Gone Wild, you know what I'm saying?
Really?
Like to do an interview, stuff like that. We even brought in, we did a phone call with Spanto like 2 weeks before he passed from Born and Raised. R.I.P. Spanto. We had him on because he did the Nike collab with the Nike SBs, and he gave away a bunch of them to Venice High School. I believe it's his alma mater. So we're like, that's a dope story. Like, we should bring him on. We had him call in. Shout out to my homegirl Yaleen for connecting the dots. And it was like a dope moment. And then 2 weeks later, he passes away.
Oh, wow.
I was like, whoa, that was a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of the show, like, we kind of changed it ourselves on accident when Duno left, you know what I'm saying? So, like, Duno not being on the morning show definitely changed the dynamic of it. I think he was only there till, like, May. So he did, like, 2-3 months. And so the show's really changed ever since because Duno's such a, like, dominant force. His voice, his personality. With him leaving, it's definitely created more opportunity for me to be on the show. Our producer, Maximo, the homegirl Angie, Irene, like we're all just more prominent, you know, in the show, and Letty, you know, doing her thing and playing like point guard. You know what I'm saying? So,
why did Duno leave the show?
He didn't love it. It's like the easiest way to like put it is like he tried it and he genuinely didn't love it. Waking up early, the preparation it takes. Duno's really a free spirit, you know what I'm saying, to where he loves to be outside, outdoors. He doesn't want to be closed in a room for a while. And he has a lot of other dreams. Like he kept saying like, man, this is like your guys' dream, not mine. And him being Gen Z, it's like it makes sense. Like radio is not like a big thing.
Yeah, that's very true.
For him, you know what I'm saying? It's like he's doing his YouTube thing, and he grew up watching other YouTubers. You know what I'm saying? And he wants to be in movies and do stand up. And now he's doing a lot of stand up, you know. And it's like that's late night shit. You can't do that if you have morning radio at 4 a.m. You know what I'm saying? So credit to him. He's done what he said he was gonna do in terms of like taking his comedy and acting more serious, you know, in a effort to like leave the show to just not bullshit, to kind of like not leave in vain, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like you just leave just to like be on YouTube and kick it with your homies, that's like kind of fucked up. You know what I'm saying? But like he's like doing the comedy thing, and he's been acting in movies and short films and shit like that. So, you know, he's on his way for sure, and that's what he wants to do, you know. So
so no bad blood or anything like that.
No, of course not. Yeah, that's my little brother. Like, you know, he's gonna be huge. Like as big as he is now. Like if he continues, because he's a really, really hard worker. You know, that's what people don't get. And there's like a thing that I'll just address is like, people say like our joke to where if people ask us like why did Duno leave is like he didn't want to wake up. It's too early or whatever. You know, and it's just like a funny thing because we have to dispel like the awkwardness because it's like, oh well, you guys started together and now only you two do the show. Why doesn't he want to do it? And it's like anytime people ask like, oh, where's Duno at? We're just like, he's asleep. And it's all in fun because we'll tell them like, bro, this is what we tell people, and it's just a way to like keep it like, like keep it pushing. Like there's no bad blood here. If you want to like, you know, start some shit, like we're close as ever. You know what I'm saying? So.
Understood.
So yeah, we'll just, the short answer is he didn't want to get up early.
I got you, man. So what's your reaction when Spotify reaches out and they name you guys, what is it called, the Radar program, part of the Radar program?
Yeah, part of the Radar program. So the interesting thing with Spotify is that we had been in communication with them for a long time, like all of 2022, it felt like they were reaching out. And, you know, they were trying to, as they did with the Joe Budden podcast and Joe Rogan, like they're trying to like license podcasts exclusively, right? So they were trying to get us to sign with them exclusively for like a 2-year deal, and they offered us a lot of money. And we had to say no because they wanted us to be exclusively on their platform. They didn't want us on YouTube at all, not even clips. And it was just like the terms of the deal, just it was too restricting, you know what I'm saying? We felt like we would lose a large majority of our audience. And it's beneficial to Spotify because they're like, okay, we're gonna, whoever comes to Spotify comes, but it's like, yo, this is like our livelihood, you know what I'm saying? It's like, we'll get that money up front, but what about the back end? Like people stop watching us, people don't translate, people only saw us on YouTube, now they don't wanna go to Spotify, shit like that. So we had to make the tough decision of saying no. I was sick, bro. I was sick for like 3 days. Like, you know when you think you're gonna get a bag and you don't get it, and you're just like, you're already counting it, doing shit you wanted to do. Like in your mind, you're just like, yeah, I'm probably just get this. It's like, I'll get a rollie, but I won't get like a big one. Like it'll just be like the what is it? Like the smaller one. And I'm just like, yeah, maybe like the 38 mm. Like it's just like a bunch of shit. You start like kind of, you know, visualizing, contemplating. And we had to say no because it just didn't really make sense, you know? I think we turned them down like around this time last year. So, you know, I was like, man, Christmas about to be lit, like all this shit, like it didn't work out that way. But, you know, thankfully you know, what's it called? We kept it in good standing with them, you know, because a couple months goes by and, you know, they didn't want to, since we had already rejected the exclusive licensing deal, they were like, they started a new program called Radar for podcasters, and essentially it's just kind of like promoting us. You know, they only selected like 5 podcasts in the US and we were one of them. And they were just like empowering creators and promoting us, you know, and they didn't want any like exclusivity with that. It was a lot more just like promotion and partnering with us and empowering us. So I was like, man, that's love, because they could have chosen any podcast. Yeah. And we already said no to like their humongous offer of money. So it's like, I thought they were gonna not fuck with us anymore. But to their credit, you know, they've been hella cool over there. Carol, Joyce, everybody over there, they showed a lot of love. So they flew us out to London. You know what I'm saying? Like that was dope.
Gave y'all the billboard in Times Square.
Exactly.
Can't be mad at that.
No way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, shout out to them. Shout out to Spotify.
Yeah, now congrats on that, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, so where do you see Brown Bag going like in the next couple of years, man? It seems like it's got a lot of traction right now.
Yeah, I mean, so like now the way we kind of have like Brown Bag, like the way we see it is more of like like Brown Bag is an umbrella, like just the brand, right? And then it's like under that, it's like the podcast aspect of it and the morning show. You know, the morning show, like since we're already like pretty top rated in LA, especially with like the younger audience, you know, I see us just continuing to dominate in LA, and because we're only getting better. I'm so new to the radio shit, like I'm just learning every day, getting better at my craft. So I really see us going on a run of years, you know what I'm saying, as far as the morning show, because I really love it. Like, you have to love radio. That's what I realized. Like, you can't kind of like radio because it's every day. You're only as good as your last break, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, you were funny in the 6 o'clock hour, but 7 o'clock, none of your
It's
jokes
like a whole
landed.
different audience during that hour, too.
That, too, you know what I'm saying? You think that a segment's going to go well, it doesn't. Now you got to redeem yourself in the next hour, you know, just shit like that. It's like, you got to really love it, you know what I'm saying? So I see the morning show, you know, going further and further and further, becoming like, you know, just like the morning show of this generation in LA, you know what I'm saying? I honestly believe that, and that's what we strive for every day. And then the podcast, like, I feel like we're in like a funny place with the podcast because like we're gonna tour next year, you know, to different cities. I want to go to like Texas and Arizona and, you know, New York and stuff like that. Like we had already been planning it this year, but it was too much with the radio show being new and shit like that. So we have plans on touring next year, doing more things like that. But also it's like, and then what? You know what I'm saying? Because like, shout out to all the podcasts that came before us, like, you know, Joe Budden, Rory and Mal, you know, all those podcasts that we look up to. It's like you tour, like you do a successful podcast, then you tour, and then you go back, and then you tour again. It's like I'm trying to figure out what that next step is. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because like we're gonna do the tour thing, but it's like looking ahead to like what's after that. And to me, I don't know. I mean, if I'm being dead ass serious and manifesting shit, like I want to do some like TV type shit, like, you know what I'm saying? To where we take the podcast and move it up to like a higher level of production and do a more like TV style show. You know what I'm saying? I think we can accomplish that and successfully transition into that space. You know what I'm saying? That's what I see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially with all these streaming platforms, I could see someone like a Netflix,
exactly,
you know, bringing you guys over there for something like that.
Yeah,
too.
So that's what we're trying to aim for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about your role with OTR Records.
OTR Records, baby. This just makes me feel like a rapper. Man, OTR, shout out my guy Soul. My guy Soul, he runs OTR, the owner over there. And I started with them. So I was doing a lot of PR, you know. While I was writing, I realized like I was writing for different publications like The Fader and stuff like that, and LA Taco, and just realizing like, man, this is fun and I love it. I have a passion for it, but she don't make no money. Yeah. You know, unfortunately.
And people don't read anymore anyway.
Yeah, so it was tough. So I started doing PR because I'm like, oh, the people sending me the emails are getting paid way more than me, who takes days to write my shit, right? So I'm like, hold on, I could do that too. So I started doing PR, independent artists and stuff, and then what's it called? Shout out to Swifty Blue. He actually connected us with OTR and saying like, yo, I want you guys to do my PR, but you know, you got to meet my boy Soul. And I had met Soul previously through my boy Cypress Moreno. So ended up linking up with him, and he's like, yeah, I want to hire you. Me and Cali at the time. And so we started working with OTR, with their artists, doing like their marketing and publicity and stuff. And it's like a very small label at the time. Literally the staff was just me, Cali, and Soul. You know what I'm saying? So it was like very early on, but you know, Soul had a budget, so it was like, okay, cool. Nothing was like getting shortchanged, or it's like there was nothing that we really couldn't do if it made sense. You know what I'm saying? So that always feels good working with a company like that. So we started doing that, just, you know, bumps along the road, you know, investing in projects that we thought would make a lot of money and ended up, you know, falling flat and stuff like that. You know, but fast forward to like 2021, I find I had been in contact with 22 Gfae for a while. I believed in his music and stuff, and I was like, hey, like, I think we should sign this kid. You know, he's 19 years old, like super hungry, super dope. And so that was like my first signing, that even though I wasn't like technically, I mean, when it's a small company, everybody does everything, right? Like, it's like I'm not the A&R, but we're small enough to where I advocated for him and signed him like an A&R would. And so we signed him, and you know, we've been going along with him. We have Pac-Man the Gunman going strong. We parted ways with Swifty Blue. You know, there was a lot of just controversy and stuff that we didn't really feel like met and fit our brand. You know what I'm saying? So we mutually parted ways with him. And then Cali, we also parted ways with him, my ex-business partner. Started like scamming people and shit.
Oh, wow. That's the music industry.
Yeah, he became like, you know, those let's say like, I hope we never become them, you know, type of shit, like people that just like scummy scammers and shit like that. And I was working with Cali for like shit, like since 2016, 17.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? So like going back that far, and you know, everything was good until people start calling me and being like, hey, like, what's up with your boy Cali? Like, he owes me money. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, like, well, he said that he had an investment with OTR and give him some money and he'll flip it and turn it around, give it to me this many months or whatever. Started doing that shit, you know?
Wow.
And it was super disappointing, bro, because outside of him being my business partner, he was my best friend. You know what I'm saying? So, but then there's like, you know, a certain point where you're just like, man, my morals and this guy's morals aren't aligning, you know what I'm saying? And you're making me look crazy out here. I'm bad. And it's like the people that you're scamming are mutual friends of ours. On top of the fact that, like, when I really had to cut bro off is when he lied and told somebody that his dad died. And his dad didn't die.
Oh, wow.
Like, his dad is alive and well, you know, knock on wood, great guy. And I was like, bro, are you serious? Like, what won't this guy do, you know what I'm saying, to like get a couple $100 or $1,000 out of somebody? And I'm just like, yeah, I gotta separate myself. So we ended up separating from OTR with him as well. And so now it's just me, Soul, and I've kind of taken more of like an overseer role at OTR, where it's like, I just kind of delegate a lot, you know, marketing, publicity, everything, you know. And, you know, we just go like that, and it's been going a lot better, you know. We didn't realize, like, you know, sometimes it's addition by subtraction, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I hope the best for him, you know, and all that. I heard he paid the people back, which is good, you know what I'm saying? But we had to separate, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's just, you know, shit happens like that, labels, friendships, companies, like you grow apart type shit, you know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, it happens, unfortunately.
It happens, yeah.
I did want to ask you about interviewing Sexyy Red. What was that experience like? Because she's such a live personality.
Man, shout out to Sexyy Red. So it's funny, like, and I'm so grateful about to do that interview, and it's all about timing, right? Because shout out to Audible Treats. They had hit me up, and they were like, hey, we have Sexyy Red coming to LA. And I was like, oh shit, like, at the time, like, Pound Town is like bubbling, and I'm just like, that shit is funny, but it's kind of like, it's kind of comical, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, but then I start to like do a little more research, and I'm like, yo, she's like rapping like Gucci Mane, like old Gucci. I'm like, and like she has that song like Female Gucci Mane, and I'm just like, this shit is hard. Like I loved her cadence, delivery, and everything, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it, you know? So I was like, yeah, let's do it when she comes to LA. So I think I interviewed her in May, like early May, and interview goes great. She's super cool, super humble, super nice. And she was talking to me about like her son and stuff like that. And just so happened that I had my son with me that day, and I was like, oh yeah, I have my son, like, you should meet him. And so we wrapped the interview and everything, and then I was just like, hey, can you take a picture of my son? And it's like, she was so happy. My son was so nervous too, like,
for real.
Yeah, to meet her and stuff. And then so I was like, yeah, like, you know, she's famous, like, you know, take a picture with her, whatever. And then I think like 2 weeks later, what is it, the BET Awards? Like, she ends up on the BET Awards and just blows up. Like, it was just like huge after that, right? And then it was like day after day, she's with Drake, Travis Scott, like, just the whole industry like swallows her up and props her up and embraces her. And then I'm showing Lil Vic, like, oh, look, this is the girl you took a picture with. She's with Drake, she's with Travis Scott. He's like, oh, what? Like, he was so excited. But yeah, shout out to her and her team, super nice, super humble, and professionals, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was cool. It's really dope to have the interview on my resume, you know what I'm saying? And especially like on my own platform. So it's like, I've slowed down doing so many interviews on my shit because of, you know, building the brown bag and OTR, but like every once in a while, like, I'll pop out, and I was fortunate to like get the Sexyy Red interview, right place, right time.
Yeah, no, and the interview was dope too.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. It was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
All right, Vic, what's next, man? I know it's a
lot. I know, yeah. What's next, man? I want to work on a album. So back in 2019, I left this part of the story, but back in 2019, I signed with Empire, and I did an album, right? A like executive produced type album, where started from scratch, had no records, no nothing, Empire gave me a marketing budget. Shout out to Gentry and Nima and Ghazi. And they're like, we told them, all right, we're gonna get, O3 Greedo on this, we're gonna get Shoreline on this, we're gonna get all these people on it. We had no idea how we're gonna do it, but we're like, fuck it, we're gonna make it happen, right? So we ended up making it happen. We dropped an album under the name Rosegrown, which was me and Cali at the time, which was like the label that we had founded. And we put it out. It had Greedo on it, it had Shoreline, it had Rucci, it had Kalen, it was AD, it was a Problem. Like we actually did our thing on there, and it was a lot of fun. I still listen to it, and I'm just like proud of it. I'm like, yeah, it's like aged well. You know what I'm saying? It's been like 4 years. But now, with my separation, from Cali, I'm just like, man, I want to do it again, but this time differently, and just like a Rosecrans Vic album, to where executive produce it, start from scratch, no beats, no nothing, just a concept and stuff like that. So I'm gonna start working on that in December.
Okay.
December 1st. Industry kind of like goes on hibernation mode around that time, and I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity to like, things slow down, I can focus my energy elsewhere and make that happen. And so that's what I'm gonna start working on. Hopefully like a month or two I can get it done, and then start rolling it out and stuff.
No, that'd be really dope right there.
Hell yeah.
All right, Vic, you want to give any shout outs before you wrap it up here, bro?
Yeah, man, shout out OTR, shout out Brown Bag, shout out DGB, shout out all the real bloggers. Came from the trenches, you know what I'm saying? From
a lot of them ain't kicking today though, bro.
From page views to penthouse views and shit, you know what I'm saying? I see you got the Gucci's on, the Balenciagas, like, man, I love it. I love the rise of media platforms, you know what I'm saying? When I see like somebody like Gabe P, shout out Gabe P, on the radar, met him 2019 at Rolling Loud, and it's like to see his progression and see Drake Central C come on his platform, and you just see everybody's like swag change, just like, all right, like we started like, hustling to try to get a Coily Ray interview backstage, and then now all of a sudden it's like people are like running up to them trying to get an interview and stuff like that, man. I just love to see like my peer group, everybody doing their thing in media. Shout out to y'all, man. Yeah.
I can see you scared of that, but what do I know? You say you wanna get sexual with my ice on. Baby, we can make a movie that's gonna viral. You see I'm shining these